Hey guys, I know that I have been MIA. I have not been on here in I don't even know when. I have been kind of more active on TikTok, more active on like Facebook, but of course you guys know my Facebook is not like dedicated to Mandela Effect at all. And then my um, TikTok, I do have some stuff on there, but that nothing to do with Mandela Effect, so this is completely different. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm in the car. Um, Let me turn this air down. I know that sometimes causes the sound to be a little distorted. There's nobody in here that I can tell, so I'm not sure. I can't ask anybody how do I sound or if they can hear me, but I'll wait to see if anybody comes in, and then if they say they can't hear me, then I'll delete the video and maybe just upload it later. So if you can hear me, you don't have to say anything. You can just put like a 1 in the chat. That way I know that you can hear me. But anyways, I accidentally made a post on here. I didn't mean to make a post. Hey! Oh my goodness. Were you thinking about me? I was thinking about you guys as well. Like, I was like, I've been so MIA. Isn't that crazy though, how we think about somebody and then they show up in our reality, right? I have been just like dealing, y'all. I had a car accident. My significant other passed away in October, so I don't even know if I've gotten on to say those things or to even inform you guys of what's been going on with me. But it's been it's been a ride. Life has been lifing. But anyways, I guess you can hear me. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue. Um, as you guys probably know, I thank you. You know me, I'm gonna get through. So um, I've been just like I said, life has been lifing. I feel like I have been sort of kidnapped into this crazy off off world reality. Um, like I said, I had a really bad car accident, which, isn't all bad, but I've had issues, physically, but I'm okay. A significant other passed away in October from cancer. Um, that was a ride. He was diagnosed in January, and by October he was gone. It's a very rare stomach cancer that just took him down, and he had been, you know, jabbed. So I'm sure that probably played a role in the situation as well. So, and that's the other thing, in this reality that I find myself in, I'm seeing a lot of people that are literally fighting for their bodies, fighting for their existence after that, you know, jibby jibby jab. Um, a lot of people are losing the fight um, because of this thing that they've, put into them. And who can say anything? Yeah, who can say? I mean, what can you tell? Can you tell somebody? Can you say, "Hey, do you know this is happening?" Because nobody's listening. Nobody's gonna like care that's what your opinion is, or that's what you think is happening. So it's very like awful to watch all these people fighting for their lives, fighting for their existence because they did something that they were told to do, some of them made to do so that they could keep certain positions and things like that. And so here we are. Um, when you said Me Too, are you talking about lifing, or watching people fighting for their existence and bodies. So, um, TikTok has been kind of the thing I've been on. My TikTok name is Breeze Teas. You all know that I do have a tea company, so I've been kind of sort of branding all of my social medias behind my company. But I've been on TikTok, and of course, TikTok is a little bit more free than say YouTube, and they still have to kind of like watch what you say, because it's still somewhat censored. But I've just been noticing. Okay, right. Okay, look, we have to like speak in code because there's no freedom of speech anymore in America. So, anyways, I have been looking at the state of the world. Excuse me. And I just kind of feel like, we've always had problems in the world. We've always had issues in the world. And I don't know if maybe my life is a little bit more sheltered, or I just wasn't aware of the things going on, because I know, like, I lived in Atlanta for like 13, 14 years. And one thing, when I got there, I just saw the progression of the people. I saw brown people you know, uh, doing businesses, and, just making moves, and, driving big fancy cars and living in big giant mansions and stuff like that. This is what I saw, and this was the norm. This wasn't even something that was just new or whatever. This was actually the norm for these people. And I remember when I got there, we lived on a road in Marietta, and on the next road they had like an Ethiopian store, and then there were lots of people from other countries, but we mainly had dealings with Ethiopians, because they had that corner store, and we did patronize them a lot. And then there were a lot of Nigerians there. So I I don't recall the diaspora, the Black Americans in America and the Africans in Africa. I know that people would say, "Oh, they don't like us, and they're funny acting with us or whatever," but I didn't experience that in on that level. And I do remember having Nigerian friends that did business with Black Americans. That I had a friend that had like a tire shop, and he had Black Americans that he actually, you know, he was from Cameroon, but he, found himself with many Nigerians, because I think he said he was born in Cameroon or whatever, but then he was raised in Nigeria, or vice versa, or he was Nigerian and then raised in Cameroon. I think that was it. And so, but with that being said, I just don't remember us having all of these issues among the diaspora of people. Like, I don't remember us being like there's a whole thing going on TikTok where like all the Africans are like on there uh talking shit about Americans, and probably vice versa. But we had African friends. Like, we had a girl that used to her and my mom are still very close. She's from Sierra Leone. And we had a Kenyan family that used to come to our house for dinner. We went to the same church. Like, I just don't remember in my timeline us having all these issues with other races. I can remember in my youth in Virginia, like Puerto Rican guys, trying to date me. Um, the Dominicans, the Puerto Ricans, everybody consider, especially from up north, they all considered themselves black. They weren't walking around, "Oh, I'm not black. Oh, don't call me that." Like, it just, we all were in like a, I don't know what the word would be to use, but it wasn't something where it was like we were on code. We were on the same team because we had a common enemy. You know what I mean? We had a common enemy. So all of us that had brown skin, like nobody cared about, oh, don't call me black. Oh, I'm not an American. Oh, the black Americans are lazy. They're sorry. The only group that I can remember from my timeline that seemed like they had an issue with black people that were of Hispanic origin was maybe Cubans. We never really rocked with them, but like Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, even Mexicans in Atlanta, we kicked it. We were cool. We did business together. Like, even here, I'm in South Carolina now, but even when I meet Mexicans from Atlanta or Brazilians from Atlanta, they hate it here because there's no culture here whatsoever, and they can only deal with their own people. And they're not accustomed to that because they've lived in Atlanta where everybody kind of deals with everybody. There's this thought that all black Americans are lazy, and it's true to some degree, with especially with our men. I don't know what, even with that, I don't know. Yes. Okay, loyalty makes me family. We are somewhere else. Like, we've been kidnapped and or moved to a lower timeline. That has to be what has happened, because there's no way that this is like this. This is no way that all of a sudden now, even one of my girlfriends told me when we went to Houston, because I'm a person like this. If I go to a bigger city, like where I live, there's not a whole lot of culture. So if I go to Charlotte, if I go to Houston, Dallas, which I've not been to Dallas, but I'm just using that as an example. Um, Atlanta, I'm going to go look for the international foods of that area. So if I'm in Atlanta, I'm going to get me some Haitian food because they got some wonderful Haitian restaurants in Atlanta. I'm going to get me some African food because they have, even Columbia, even where in South Carolina, up in Columbia is the capital. So there's more Africans there than there are in the area where I live. But if I'm in a bigger city, when I go to Charlotte, I'm going to get African food because I know that there are Africans there with restaurants because it's a bigger city. So anytime I leave out of my area that is not very multicultural and go to places that have multicultural things, I'm going to spend my money. And it's never been a issue of me thinking, oh, these people, I'm not going to go spend my money with them because they don't like us. Like, what has happened? Even my friend that's from Houston, when I went to Houston with her, we went to a Nigerian store and a restaurant, and she was like, oh, the Nigerians here in Houston, they don't really rock with us like that. And I'm like, what? Houston is a much bigger city than Atlanta. And she's like, oh yeah, they don't, they kind of stay to themselves. They don't rock with us. They don't, yeah. And I was just so surprised. I was so like taken aback by that because that is not the case. That is not the case in Atlanta, or at least it wasn't the case in Atlanta. But on this new timeline that I find myself on that I don't like, it seems like everybody hates everybody. Like, it's all the races. Have they just gotten us to this point with all the propaganda? And because I mean, we have to know at this point it's a game. Like, we gotta know that. I don't know. Y'all tell me in the comment section, like, am I tripping or am I crazy? Has this always been like this for certain people, or is it just um, Atlanta, where things are like this. Yes, it is a racist timeline. It is. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it because I wasn't raised in a racist timeline. I didn't live around situations where I always found myself dealing with race. Nobody cared. I remember having friends that are like West Indian and like and we sought to understand their culture and you know I have friends that from New York that would say they were Native American, they were Indian. We sought to understand what the hell is going on in these other races so that we can better know each other, better deal with each other. So what has happened? And then another thing too, in this timeline, black women are like the bottom of the barrel, the trash of the world. Um, yeah, they had to have just brought us here for destruction because I listen, you know that I have left religion. But I promise you, I was just thinking like earlier today, like, did we go to hell? Did we not make heaven? Like, did they? Is this is like this is hell? Like, you know how they said that some people ain't gonna make it. Did we not make it? Did we not make the better timeline? Did we just get pushed over here because we didn't know how to act? Or I mean, like, what happened? But anyways, like I was saying, black women are like the bottom of the totem pole in the world, even though we're the most educated. Some of us being super wealthy, but hey, Miss Glenda, how are you in sunny California? I have not seen you on Facebook in a while, and I haven't been on here in so long, but I do see you in and out on Instagram. I gotta like do better. I always say that and I never do, right? But anyways, I just see that like black women are being treated like the worst of the worst, right? So you guys know that I sometimes drive Uber, especially when I need a little extra money and stuff because it's an easy way to make extra money. So I'm driving Uber yesterday, and this man says to me, now, mind you, I've lived in Atlanta for several years and then I moved to South Carolina. So he says to me that the crime rate in Atlanta is because of all the women that went to Freaknik and got pregnant by men and didn't know who the father was. So all the children that are now committing crimes in Atlanta are a direct result of the women that went to Freaknik and got pregnant and had fatherless children because they didn't know who the father was. So, I'm like sitting there, like, I don't, I don't know that to be true. And the thing is, like, statistically, he says all these crimes and all this stuff is happening because of single moms and women raising, children without a man. But most of the single mothers that I know had to flee situations to become single mothers because the men that they thought they were having children with were bottom of the barrel, playing putting on an act, putting on a show, pretending to be somebody that they were not. They get pregnant, you know. Okay, Yes. Alrighty. I'll see you later, Miss Glinda. I'm glad you jumped on. Sorry you could say hi, and I'm so glad to not see you but see you. So yeah, catch the replay because I probably won't be on much longer. I don't want to go too long because people don't want to hear all this stuff. But good to see you and hear from you. But yeah, so I just first of all, like my daughter made a very valuable point when I was telling her about it this morning, and she was like, people came from all over the United States to Freaknik. Freaknik wasn't specific to Atlanta in the sense that all the Atlanta residents weren't the people that were attending Freaknik. Like she said, people in Atlanta would actually be irritated, just like the people in South Carolina would be irritated with Bike Week. So the people in Atlanta were irritated with Freaknik because these people were just in their city doing the most. So, how did this man establish that the single mother problem in Atlanta is the cause of the crime rate because women at Freaknik got pregnant by a bunch of men and didn't know who the daddy was? If I if I'm not